Hello! You find me here with a guitar that's not mine, courtesy of Brian from the Dughoose Ska band. He has given me this guitar because it buzzes when you plug it in. I'm told you plug it in. I have done nothing with it yet. I'm told you plug it in and it just makes a buzz sound. That sounds like quite an easy fix for me. I will film all this. If it's not an easy fix, you probably won't see it. It is a Hondo 2, which says Zenta at the top. It's obviously a Stratocaster copy. It's nice, it weighs a ton. The flicky bit pickup selector. Eagle Eye viewers will notice I don't have a pickup selector on my main guitar, so I forget what it's called. Is 3 positions rather than 5, which I thought was interesting. Other than that, weighs a ton. Big chunky guitar. Holds its tune in. So plan is to fix it. The ones I've seen on the internet have got the big ashtray thing that kind of goes over the bridge. I should really Google the names of guitar parts before I start. You can see the screws where that has been, and then that makes it quite an interesting bridge. But if it works, it works. Intonation interesting. Not terrible. Right, so let's see what happens when we plug it in. We have a working cable. I will turn things up to prove that. I'll have to add a sound effect if that's not worked. Well, that's a disappointment, isn't it? So basically, maybe it's a dodgy cable. I was assuming that there was a disconnect here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that off and look and see if I can make it break, which is a terrible idea, but I did say I would look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean those pots. Annoyingly, you have to take off the whole scratch plate, and I'm going to open that up, the bit where you put the jack, the pluggy in bit, and just check the wiring, because that's what he said was wrong with it. Hello and welcome to Acts of the Month. This month we have a very strange one. It's a 70s Stratocaster copy. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do this. There may have been a short piece of video beforehand which showed you me trying to fix this. And it turned out there's nothing wrong with it. So I gave it a clean. I took it apart. And it's long and boring, but it doesn't really make its own video. So that's going to be the end of this. So I think there was an introduction which showed that there was nothing wrong with the guitar. And at the end, I'm going to show you what I did with it. Now, if that introduction was there, you will have found out that this is my friend Brian from the Dughoose Ska band, who had this guitar, and he said to me, it just buzzes when you plug it in. I plugged it in, and it didn't buzz, okay? So, but I thought I'll have a wee look at it, and it is actually quite an intro. He thinks it's just a Strat copy that he's had since the mid-80s. But it is, I think, from 1977, and it is what you call the lawsuit era of guitars. Now, all the famous guitars that we know well, Telecasters, Stratocasters, Les Pauls, there started to be copies coming from Asia, specifically Korea and Japan, and the copies were so close that it resulted in a kind of change of the the kind of patent law and Fender and Gibson being a wee bit more careful about who was doing what. That's what I understand of it. Maybe I'm wrong, right? If I'm wrong, feel free to tell me in the comments. But what happened as a result was that there was these companies in Japan and Korea who were making replicas, cheaper replicas of those classic guitars. On the internet, there are Hondo 2s that are made by a company called Samick, which are identical to these from the photos. HFS 3, and then letters, and depending on what's going on with it. This is the Zenta Hondo 2, which says HES 5000 on the back. But the Zenta bit looks a bit like it's a sticker that has been put on after the fact, rather than part of the design. The Zentas are Japan, and the Samicks are Korea, South, I'm guessing. So I don't know, they look very similar. If it was a Samick, according to the internets again, the font used for the logo would suggest that this is 1977. So at some point my friend Brian has got this in, I think he said 84 or 85. And I think it's had new machine heads put on it. Did I put that out of tune? And it's in pretty good nick. Now the interesting thing with the lawsuit guitars is some of them were really, really good. Now if you did your homework and kind of looked around at what you were doing, they're the right size for replacing things. So if it wasn't a nice neck, you could replace it with a Fender neck, and you could get a really good guitar on the cheap, of which this is one. So it's basically a 70s Strat. I didn't set it up much. Brian, playing in a ska band, probably plays around here, etc. So it's a wee bit tighter up there on the action, and the bridge is, I didn't touch it because I didn't want to mess with how it's set up for him. But I put new strings on it, I cleaned the fuzzy pots, and I checked that this bit was okay. So he's either been unlucky, or he's plugged it into a dodgy amp, or with a dodgy cable, and here we have. So it plays dead nice. It's got that kind of extra twang of a Strat. That's just the middle pickup, and you're already getting quite a... So you get quite a versatile set of tones, and it's quite nice pickups. So we're going through a 5-watt valve amp as always, and then I've got various pedals here to make up for the fact that the 5-watt valve amp's not got much going for it. So it weighs an absolute ton, as only those old guitars do. I don't know, I've never had an actual 70s Strat or an actual 60s Strat, and I don't know whether they weighed an absolute ton as well. Maybe they did, but all the copies that I've ever had from that era, really, really heavy, really, really solid. But it makes it, like, I've played, like, from 90s onwards, I've played loads of Strats, and I never liked them. Usually Squires, usually cheap or copies or whatever, and they're just never for me. I'm a percussive guitarist that's used to big chunky necks and everything. This feels more like me, right? It feels more like I can get on board with it. There's something really quite snappy about it. It just feels dead nice. But I always like a guitar with a maple neck. If I ever buy a Strat, it's going to be a maple neck Strat. So I've recently built a clone, a Wish clone, so I've no idea if it's anything like a real clone. So I'm getting quite a lot of tin from the pair of them. So that's got quite a lot of bite, quite a lot of sparkle to it. I really quite like that. So I mean that clone's hardly on. So maybe I'm not made for strats, but then I put that on and I start to get the non-strats. If I had a spare £500, I would seek out a really interesting 1970s Strat that nobody else cared about, that fell under my hands and I really liked. I think this is close to it. This is it's got its quirks, you know. But I've taken ages to do this. I'm on like 45 minutes. Normally these take me like 20 minutes. And I'm looking for that wee bite. And I always say this about strats, like I say I don't like them, but I play them for longer than I play other things, because I'm trying to make it work. Yeah, one of a kind. If you came across one, I mean, even this has had modifications, so it really is one of a kind. But seek them out. Don't be scared of them, because they're not fenders, and I'm confident that they'll take fender pickups or fender sized pickups, so you can shop around. I built this. I don't know whether it's there. This Les Paul, you may have seen a previous episode, and it was a disaster because everything was the wrong size. That was post lawsuit. Hello, here we are with Brian's guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off and then see what's inside, in the hope. I don't really know if I'm hoping it's broken. I'm going to check it, then I'll have confidence that there's not an intermittent problem with it. Because when you see inside this, it is super simple. The joy of 70s screws. I forgot my trusty enamel mug. We're not sponsored by Titan Spirits, but if they want to give us free drink, then obviously it's greatly appreciated. So that looks as healthy as it could ever be. It's kind of hard to tell what you can see and on the GoPro, but there ain't much wrong with that. So I would be tempted to not mess with it. I'll get a wee photo. So the intonation I noticed could see improvement, but I don't really want to mess with that bridge. So I'm going to attempt to clean these pots without taking the strings off. That may be a bad idea. I will. Well, worst case scenario is I'm restringing it. But that's the current plan, is to try and stop these crackling because I can. The other thing that I would have checked was that the nut is on that tight, which it is. Then I've got a wee socket set that I would have tightened that up with. Oh, you fucker. Was that round the wrong way? Oh, putting strings in the bin is the most annoying thing ever. Right, come on. My fear is that if I don't dispose of this correctly, I'm going to get garroted by a toddler. So I would say that those strings are feeling quite old. But I could do a decent clean, right? I will restring it. So here we go. The innards of a Zenta Hondo 2. Now, I don't want to mess with this too much because, as I say, the guitar's not broken. But if I give these a wee scoosh, I should probably show you what I'm doing. So, I don't know whether you've seen me do this to other things, but basically, potentiometers or variable resistors are a series of plates, and as you turn them, they decide the resistance of that potentiometer, based on whether there's 2 bits of plate or 1 bit of plate or no plate. And then what happens is you get wee bits of fluff underneath them, so the resistance cuts in and out, which is what happens when you get a crackly pot. And it really is as simple as that. So what I've done is I've cleaned it with contact cleaner, which is a bit like the electric equivalent of what do you call it, anti-bac gel that we all knew and loved during the pandemic, so that it's not water, you know, you spray it in your hands and then it evaporates and your hands dry up, and that cleans out the crap basically. So you do that every now and again, like every 20 years or so, and that's how you stop pots crackling. I'm not going to do anything else because, as I say, it works. It's quite healthy. So